We've witnessed oolong excellence, but now we're going a step further. Hey everyone, I'm Sigi, and I'm continuing with my foray into Yancha. Today, we have a very special one, perhaps I think one of the most expensive Yancha that have ever been on the nannuoshan store, which is this one right here, the Matouyan Shui Xian. First off, let's start with a bit of information that I have prepared on my little fact sheet here. So this is a tea, as the title implies, from the famous Matou Cliff in Wuyi in Fujian province. This tea is made from the Shui Xian cultivar. We learn as much once again from the name. And it was harvested in early May of 2016, so quite a while ago by now. It's been roasted 3 times in total, kind of a re-roasting over the years, which is fairly common with Yancha. And now let's briefly look at the price. So the price on the US store for this tea is $81.50 grams, $81.50 for 50 grams, and 74 euros for 50 grams on the European store. All right, with that out of the way, let's take a quick look at these dry leaves. These, I think, are some of the largest leaves I've ever seen on a Yancha. It's honestly quite impressive. It maybe kind of makes sense if these are from older Shui Xian bushes that the leaves would be a bit larger, but it is honestly quite impressive. What else can we see? In terms of roast, I think the roast on this tea is lighter than, for example, on the Matouyan Shui that I've drunk on the channel before, but stronger than its kind of cousin, the Usandi Laozong Shui Xian, that I've also done a video about. Now, how do these leaves smell? Important. They're a bit roasty, definitely a mineral scent. The dry leaves don't smell particularly sweet, and there is maybe a slight hint of spice to them. Let's not waste any more time. This is 6 grams. This is my trusty 100 milliliter gaiwan, and this is boiling water. For a tea like this, I'm gonna do kind of medium length steeps. I don't think it needs short steeping times. I don't think it benefits from super long steeping either. So I'm gonna put this in, wait a little bit, pour it out, and then we are gonna have our first steep. Okay, and there it is. The first steep of the Matouyan Shui Xian. How does it smell? Okay. This is really nice. Lots going on for sure. I'm just gonna do this real quick. I think up front I get some woodiness, definitely that kind of mineral impression as well. And then there is more underneath it, but I think for that we actually want to give the tea a proper try before we say any more. It's still quite hot. And there it is. Okay. So we definitely get the same kind of woodiness as from the fragrance up front, combined with that sort of mineral undertone that we'd expect from a good yancha. This one, in addition to that, has a lot of kind of spice notes going on. So think things like cinnamon, maybe nutmeg, a lot of that. The fragrance of it, as you drink it, almost hits you in a way that's similar to as if you kind of opened a spice drawer and took a whiff. And then in the aftertaste, there's this wonderful creamy milkiness in a way that almost turns into a sort of caramel sweetness. Not too much of it, but it lingers quite nicely. And it combines with everything that came before it. It's a very kind of gentle sweetness. This isn't a particularly sweet tea. Sweetness is not kind of playing the main role here, but everything, the woodiness, the minerality, the spice note, and that milky, creamy, almost caramel sweetness, they all come together to form a complex harmony of sensory impressions. First steep impression, very good. Okay, I'm gonna get started on the second steep, and I'll be back in a moment. In the meantime, let's answer me this in the comment section. What's the most expensive tea you've ever had? This one, obviously not a cheap tea. I'm pretty sure it is the most expensive yancha I've had. And the first impression is quite strong. Okay. Let's see if there are any changes here from the first steep. I didn't really change much in terms of steeping time. I felt like the first steep was decent, so the second one maybe didn't need much in the way of change. Okay, it does feel like it changed a little. Let's see. So that spice note that I described in the first steep as well is coming out a bit more this time. Along with it, just the tiniest hint of astringency, a little bit of dryness in the mouth. The woodiness up front from the first steep has declined a little bit, but that milky creaminess still remains. And that, I think, is a really, really nice aspect of this particular tea. Especially how well it integrates with everything else. We still get the mineral undertones on the second steep. The mouthfeel on this tea is also something that's kind of catching my attention a bit right now. It's, on the one hand, fairly light, but on the other hand, the tea itself coats the mouth very nicely, so you get a lot of flavor, a lot of fragrance, but the tea doesn't feel heavy in a way. Super good. All of these different fragrances and flavors are still playing together, playing off each other very nicely. A lot going on in this tea. But it's all coming together in a really good way. And it's leaving me with a really good impression. 2 steeps in, this is quite amazing. Definitely a bit on the lighter side compared to something like the TEAWARE, especially compared to the Da Hong Pao that I've had, the high fire one. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of playing almost in a different class. This is a different type of yancha, a different experience so far. And that, I think, needs to be honored. So there's one last thing I want to see for this video, and that is how many steeps am I going to get out of this tea? I'm just going to decant this right now, and then we can have a short chat about how this tea changed over the course of the session. For a lot of you, I think the first big question is going to be, how many steeps did I actually get out of this? And the answer is 8. Those were 8 rather nice and full steeps. Those of you who've been watching my videos know that I tend to steep for a longer time, and towards the end I also increased my steeping time quite drastically on this. If you're somebody who steeps shorter than me, then you're probably going to get a fair bit more steeps out of this, but 8 steeps, given my personal style, is honestly extremely good. Compared to a lot of other yancha, I tend to get like 5 steeps out of them, maybe less, depends, but this one has shown extremely good endurance. And even now, it's still just very nice. I think, sorry. In hindsight, one thing I can say about this tea is that it is more gentle and reserved than a lot of other yancha I've tried. But on the other hand, it's also a bit more dynamic across the steeps, with a lot of different nuances. Around the 5th steep or so, this tea switched to being significantly lighter, but it still had to offer a lot at that point. And it still has to offer a lot now. The spices and the mineral flavor really persisted for a long time. I think they're still kind of at the forefront now. That milky creaminess kind of went away. There is still a decent amount of sweetness to it, but it changed a bit in nature. The woodiness, I'd say, from the very early steeps is almost entirely gone. And now on the very late steeps, it has been replaced by the, I'm not exactly sure how to describe it, but essentially the taste of the leaf itself coming through, which honestly is not uncommon if a tea goes this long. So all in all, I think this is a really special yancha. It's worth its price tag, definitely, for trying at the very least. I do think this is going to provide you with a different experience and a very high level experience, but first and foremost a different experience compared to the other higher end yancha on nannuoshan. I think this kind of stands in a category of its own compared to things like the Matouyan Shui Xian, the Matouyan Rogue, or some of the other really nice yancha that are on sale this year. So please give this one a try if you're a yancha enjoyer. I think you're going to find a really wonderful multi-layered tea that is going to provide you with a long and wonderful session. And I hope we'll see each other in the next video. Goodbye.